So my name is Neil Godbole, and I'm an engineer and also owner here at Airship Laboratories. The studio's been around since the late 70s, and it was originally called Bayview Studios, and I had the opportunity to take it over. I succeeded the old owner in 2010, and it was really one of those things where he'd been running it for a while in the old school business way. And, you know, the studio world had changed, the music world had changed, and I'd come from a background in tech and a background in project management, but also have been a musician, you know, since I was young, playing drums. And when I got the opportunity to take over a studio, it was the perfect marriage finally of being able to be a business owner, but on my own terms, not in like some faceless tech company, but actually running my own business, but also marrying that to music and figuring out how to make it work in the modern context of music studio in like a very sort of like altering landscape of studio musicians and recordings as there have been now for the last 10, 15 years. The industry's really been changing, especially the further away you get from LA. And so it's been great. It's been, every single year we're growing more, and 2010, now we're in 2018, so we're still here. My first sort of the first time I saw Brooks Drums was with recording Dave Flores, actually. And he was in a band called Motar. And we got in just an amazing drum sound. I was like, this is so easy. And, I asked him about the kit, and it was a cool looking kit, had like all sorts of different, it looked custom made. It looked like really cool. And so I inquired about it. And that's when he talked about Mike. And I am a drummer, luckily, so I not only get to record drums, but I get to play them too, and I get to kind of know what they feel like in terms of being behind them, as well as also just sort of recording them and hearing how they translate through the speakers. And there's been a ton of different kits coming through the studio over the years, and in the same position, so we know kind of like, okay, it's the drum set that's major difference here in the sound. And Brooks kits, they tune really well. They maintain their tuning really well. And I've been able to basically, a lot of times we have 3-4 day sessions where we really want to have maybe quite a few different tunings, but at the same time we want to be able to go back to them or have a consistency between the sounds. And what I've noticed is that Brooks kits are both very consistent in their sound, but also dynamic in the sense that I can change the tuning and get a variety of sounds from the drums, and they're happy in various places, from very low and resonant to tight and deadened. They sound great. And for a studio, that's a dream come true. We're not like switching out stuff or adding too much artificial padding or deadening to it. It's we can get that from the tuning of the drum and also just working with the natural resonance of the drum. I think that the fact that they're handmade is probably a large part of it. I've got to deal with Brooks, the company, directly, with Mike directly, and he's seen the room. He's seen how people play who play in the room, and I feel like it makes a big difference that you're dealing with somebody, a face directly, who's custom making this, who knows exactly what the sound is, who's intimately connected to it. It's not an assembly line. It's a guy who's actually making this stuff. And I think that, and if let's just say there was something, there was variances in life and everything, I think you'd be able to just call Mike up and say, hey, this kit is sounding a little different, or this piece is sounding a little different, and we'd address it. So it's not about perfection. It's about customization and detail. I think the natural resonance of the drums is huge, because a lot of times I'm actually looking to dampen drums and kind of almost take away a lot of the sound of drums, because the way the mics and the reality of the mics picking up a drum can be very different than the way it sounds in a room. And a lot of times, as far as studio musicians go, I'm trying to sort of control the drums. But with Brooks drums, they sound very euphonic, and the resonances are so natural, and we're able to tune them in such a variety of ways, from deadened to very open and resonant. We can even tune them to the pitch of the song, and they hold their tuning really well. That I tend to just try to get the drums to sound as good as possible in the room with full resonance and record it that way, and it tends to just work beautifully. And it's something that I've always intuitively wanted to be able to do with drums, but never saw translate very well when it comes to the largeness of the microphones. But with Brooks drums, they sound huge and they sound great in the room. So my natural instincts as an engineer can come into play. I think that the hand craftsmanship, the natural look and feel, they just go hand in hand. I mean, these drums look custom made, and they feel custom made when you play it. They feel like part of your sound. You know, I've played quite a few different kits, and I've had, you know, just good drum sets, but just, you know, your standard, you know, well-known drum kits in the studio. And you tend to tune them and play them like you know they're supposed to sound, you know, because you've heard them before. But with Brooks kits, I think you get to the point where you're looking for a custom sound, and you're looking one that fits the way you play. And the good news is that not only does it kind of fit the way you play and the way it sounds and look great, but it translates into the recordings with that same finesse. It does not lose any of its character.